starts with you. Facts still matter. It starts with you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to you, friends. Happy Thursday, or as it's affectionately known in our little community now, Throat Punch Thursday. Lots of throat punching coming up later. You know, non-violent throat punching, if there is such a thing. Anyway, you know the drill. We appreciate you being here because we know you got many choices to make every single day, and we're always grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. So thank you. Tapping is clapping, liking is loving, sharing is caring. There's a gifting goal today. Please consider helping us out there. Also, I don't know anything about the ranking stuff. So if anybody knows anything about that, like whatever the hell it means, help. Thanks. Like, do the things. Thank you. Please consider joining our team. Also, if you are interested in supporting the Do Something Tour as we hit the road starting actually next week and then continuing through the summer and then into the fall, we are crowdfunded. You want to support that at Factsstillmatter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. We are tracking towards $25K, $7,714. Thanks to everybody who's donated so far. We really appreciate you. Head on over to the link tree that's in my bio. Some brand new items in the merch store, including A, B, C, D, E, F, fuck ice. Do Something related merch. Big fan of human rights. All kinds of really cool stuff. Check that out. You can find that at Facts HQ or at factsstillmatter.site. Also, please consider joining our Discord. It's kind of the hub of all of our show and of our community in general. It's free to join. We just ask that you go through the verification steps. If for some reason the link doesn't work, which does happen, please just reach out to one of our moderators or just copy the link, post it into a browser, and you can get in that way. What else is there? I think that pretty much covers it. The Do Something to our Instagram page. You'll find that link in the link tree as well. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and also to Twitch. And we are working on streaming to IG simultaneously as well. More details on that in the near future. But thank you guys for being here. We really appreciate you. Let's get to the show. So we have quite a few things to cover today. The general premise, I don't have anything specific on this topic, but the idea behind, I always talk about, not relenting on the truth, you guys. And the reason I say that is more important than ever, just because the amount of intentional, again, disinformation. We've learned the difference between propaganda, which can be good or bad, but propagandizing people and then using disinformation to manipulate people, and then that turns into misinformation. You guys get it. It's just happening more and more, and it's getting more and more frequent. It's getting more and more dangerous. Just pay attention. Okay, don't relent on the truth. If you have the facts on your side, don't ever give up. If you have the truth on your side, don't ever give up. Be willing to be wrong. The Bollinger's, we talked about this, Bollinger's law regarding how easy it is to tell a lie. It takes 10 times the amount of effort that it took to spread the lie initially to kind of debunk the lie. So it's a commitment that you're all going to have to be willing to make because it's just getting worse and worse. Anywho, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you all very, very much. All right, so let me do this in honor of Women's History Month. Today, I thought we would talk about Madame Curie, Marie Curie, who probably one of those names in history that we all know, but do we all know why? And was she given enough credit for what she did? Maria Salomea Curie, also known as Marie Curie, born November 7th of November, 1867, and passed away July 4th, 1934, a Polish and naturalized French physicist and chemist. She shared the 1903 Nobel Prize in Physics with her husband, Pierre Curie, for their joint research on the radioactivity phenomenon discovered by Professor Henri Becquerel. She won the 1911 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the discovery of the elements radium and polonium by the isolation of radium and the study of the nature of compounds of this remarkable element. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, the first person to win a Nobel Prize twice, and the only person to win a Nobel Prize in 2 different scientific fields. Marie and Pierre were the first married couple to win the Nobel Prize, and launching the Curie family legacy of 5 Nobel Prizes, she was, in 1906, the first woman to become a professor at the University of Paris. She was born in Warsaw, in what was then the Kingdom of Poland, part of the Russian Empire. She studied at Warsaw's clandestine flying university and began her practical scientific training in Warsaw. In 1891, at age 24, she followed her elder sisters, Bronislawa, to study in Paris. where she earned her higher degrees and conducted her subsequent scientific work. In 1895, she married Pierre Curie, with whom she conducted pioneering research on radioactivity, a term that she coined. In 1906, Pierre died in a Paris street accident. Again, the first woman, Marie Curie, the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, the first person to win a Nobel Prize twice, and the only person to win a Nobel Prize in 2 different scientific fields. Marie Curie, pretty cool. Thank you guys for being here again. Appreciate you. So we're going to cover a few things today. We're going to play some sound from Mark Wayne Mullen's hearing, which was just as we'd expect, right? Also from Tulsi Gabbard's hearing, because she was also being questioned yesterday, and that was an absolute shit show as well. But I want to start, we're going to cover some Epstein-related things today because there's some breaking news, there's some contradictions, once again, as we've talked about in this particular space, right? My back is better today. Thank you very much. Lots of yoga this morning. I'm used to it. Still not great, but thank you for asking. I appreciate it. Thank you, Sinjay Raiders. Appreciate you guys. Hearts in the chat for Sinjay Raiders, please. Lots of Epstein stuff today. So there'll be some triggering moments. I'll do my best to kind of navigate through this. Dan Goldman doing some work. Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche appeared for a briefing yesterday. Now, the briefing is not a hearing. There was no one was put under oath. All right. So I want to start with Melanie Stansbury because she was in the room where it happens. And I'll play the sound first.
Walked out of the briefing room, and what is absolutely clear is that Pam Bondi has no intention of complying with the law and the subpoena that we've issued for her to be deposed under oath in front of the committee. In fact, what appears to have happened is that she and Todd Blanche volunteered to come brief the committee, and so we walked in today ready to hear information that they would provide to us about what's going on with the Epstein File Transparency Act. And basically, they said, we've released what we're going to release, and now you can ask me questions. And there was no oath. There were no cameras. The American public were locked out of the room, and it was clear.
Let's think about that for a second. You know, the most transparent administration in history, so they tell us, right? Why would you not want to go on the record? Why would you not want to have cameras in the room? Thank you. Why would you not want to be deposed under oath? I don't know. You know, obviously they're not hiding anything.
That they were not prepared to answer questions about compliance with the law. And so ultimately, after Chairman Comer insulted Summer Lee, who is the lead in many ways on the subpoena, both of Pam Bondi and the subpoena of the Epstein files, and basically was extraordinarily disrespectful towards her, the Democrats walked out of the room because we're not going to play their games.
So just to be clear, the Transparency Act about the Epstein files, that required all of the files to be released by, I think it was in December. And there's something like 6 million of them. About 3 million have been released, 3 million have not. Of the 3 million that were released, the only thing that was supposed to be redacted was the names and identifying information of survivors. But it is clear that a lot of stuff that was redacted that wasn't pertaining to the survivors was pertaining to the potential perpetrators, and survivor information was actually accidentally included. So they are not in compliance with the law according to, as I understand the law. Is that right?
That's correct.
Absolutely. And not only are they not in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency.
So sometimes I feel like we know the language of the Epstein Transparency Act more than anybody else because we refer to it often. But, you know, again, legacy media just doing a shitty fucking job covering this.
Transparency Act, they are not in compliance with a subpoena of the Epstein files. In fact, it's important to remember that going all the way back to August 5th, we subpoenaed the full unredacted Epstein files.
That's right.
And the administration has not even attempted to comply with that subpoena. And part of why we launched a bipartisan effort to change the law to force them through the Epstein File Transparency Act to comply with our subpoena is because they were not complying to begin with. Then they missed the deadline, the over-redacted, and Todd Blanche himself said today that basically they've released everything they're going to release. Well, that is not compliance with the law. In addition to that, I think what we were all shocked by today is that Pam Bondi was asked multiple times by my colleagues if she would comply with the subpoena for her own deposition under oath, and she...
April 14th is the date that she's supposed to appear.
refused to answer yes. So I think we can say very squarely that the cover-up continues.
So, Congresswoman, I believe we're here today because I think it was four or five Republicans on the Oversight Committee joined with all the Democrats to force Pam Bondi to come before the committee. Do the Republicans on the committee who joined you for that, are they with you in terms of the outrage you're obviously feeling about the fact that Bondi is not sitting for a deposition, and also the fact that the administration is not complying with the Epstein Transparency Act?
90 days.
Well, I'll note that the subpoena for Pam Bondi to appear under oath was actually issued by Nancy Mace, who is a Republican from South Carolina. I did not see her in the room this afternoon. I don't know why, but I think it was clear that our colleagues across the aisle were running interference for Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, asking them leading questions. And like I said, it was set up like a sham hearing, not a briefing. They did not come in with any new information. They did not provide any sworn statements. And it appeared that our colleagues were basically trying to say, hey, look, they showed up. And we are not going to accept that as compliance with the law, because the law is clear. We have subpoenaed them, we have subpoenaed the files, and we have passed a bipartisan Transparency Act, which the president signed himself, and they have not complied with the law.
How do you reconcile that, before you go? How do you reconcile the fact that Republicans overwhelmingly voted for the Transparency Act?
Yeah.
The Senate voted for it, I think, on a voice vote, meaning everybody voted for it, everybody agreed.
Correct.
And the president signed it into law. They all made this public display of supporting this transparency, but they're not doing it. How do you reconcile that?
You can't.
Right. Well, I mean, my question is, how do they reconcile their own beliefs, their own values, their own morals, and their own politics with what the American people are demanding, including their oaths of office, which is that they follow the law themselves. So I think it's very clear the American people overwhelmingly are demanding justice for the survivors. They want accountability. They want perpetrators to be held accountable, and they can't run from that. And neither can the president. In fact, the questions are not going to end, whether it's questions about his own accusers, which have been covered up in the files, or it's the handling of this case. The American people are not going to let this go.
No.
And I think that my colleagues understand that, and that's why they have joined us on occasion to hold them accountable. But it is very clear that the Trump administration is doing everything that they can to run from this, and we are going to hold them accountable.
So, yeah. There was a moment, though. I want to make sure we can cover this, because Lisa Remillard covered this, because they're outside of the hearing room. There was a little press gaggle. Again, this was supposed to be a briefing. Now, the argument is, if it's a briefing, then that means, are you going to go under oath? They did not. Neither she nor Todd Blanche went under oath. There were no cameras allowed. There was no statements in advance, no terms agreed to. So again, just fucking posturing. So, and then there was a contentious moment, and I want to remind people of a few things. That Summer Lee, again, the kind of person that we want representing us in Congress, strong black woman. She's the one she's been on front and center on the Epstein File Transparency Act and process and subpoenas and statements to show she has really been a thorn in the side of the opposition. Well, it got really interesting yesterday because James Comer, the chairperson of the Oversight Committee, was not very nice. So here's Lisa Remillard breaking down the hearing for you.
Bondi was supposed to be briefing members of the House Oversight Committee tonight, Democrats and Republicans, about her handling of the Epstein files. But that briefing went off the rails pretty fast.
Instead of answering as an adult, he said that I was bitching.
That she was, quote, bitching about something in the room. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Chairman James Comer, a jar of warm fucking mayonnaise left out in the Kentucky sun in July, called a black woman, a colleague, a member of Congress, said that she was bitching. Jess, can we put James Comer at the top of the list for Throat Punch Thursday? Yeah, we can.
What was she?
Well, she was just complaining about the format.
The format was supposed to be a briefing by the Attorney General Pam Bondi and her Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, two members of the House Oversight Committee. Well, after it went off the rails, the Attorney General told the media she's done everything she can about the Epstein stuff.
We have provided 3 million documents. 3 million documents, the height of the...
But the Dow is at $50,000.
Eiffel Tower, used 500 attorneys working around the clock, have identified, either they self-identified or through their attorneys, 1,200 victims who we did our very, very best to protect their identities.
Right.
And so we're proud of the work that we've done on this.
Really?
Go ahead. Next question. We were there to answer questions. It's the evening. We came at their convenience. We gave them as much time as they wanted. And one congresswoman screamed C-SPAN wasn't in there, so she didn't want to ask questions.
Now, Democrats said they wanted C-SPAN in this briefing because, according to them, it wasn't a briefing at all.
Correct.
And after Chairman Comer told Representative...
Now, listen, this is going to be one of those divisive issues because of this bullshit behind me. If you are transparent and you've got nothing to hide and you are there to be advocates for survivors in this case, then why would you not want cameras in the room? We know why, so that they can attempt to control the fucking narrative. James Comer said that Summer Lee, a congresswoman, a black congresswoman, by the way, said that she was bitching because she was questioning the fucking bullshit. Give me a break.
If Summer Lee, she was bitching, Democrats had had enough and they walked out.
That this is being staged as some kind of fake hearings. There's no briefing. There was no actual opening statements by the Attorney General or the Deputy AG.
No oath.
There was no, of course, she's not under oath.
No oath.
And she would not.
It's a great point. Not even sworn in. Not even under oath. Not that that fucking matters with this administration, but still.
Commit to actually going under oath and following the law.
God.
And so we have been frustrated the second this thing started. We did not get to ask any questions. This has been completely set up in a way that's been irresponsible. And quite frankly, we believe a way for the Attorney General to get out of her answering questions under oath and to the public, which we will not accept.
Chairman Comer praised Attorney General Pam Bondi repeatedly for taking the time to come in and talk to his committee.
Give me a break.
Even though it was not under oath and it was not recorded and the public will never see it. Comer doesn't see what's wrong with that. And while we're at it, he also doesn't think the subpoena he just issued for Pam Bondi to come in and testify under oath in a setting where we will get to hear what she says is necessary either.
I personally don't see any reason for her to do a deposition.
Wow.
She's a sitting attorney general. Wow. She's turning over documents. I think the Democrats want to do this to embarrass her.
Democrats are convinced that Pam Bondi is not going to comply with that subpoena.
Oh, man.
That compels her to answer questions.
Damn.
That's under oath, transcribed, and then made available to the American people. And she refused on multiple occasions to commit to following the subpoena that Chairman Comer actually just put out. I asked her repeatedly that question. Other members asked her that question, and she would not commit to it. It is outrageous. It's infuriating, and it continues this White House cover-up of the Epstein files.
Chairman Comer takes issue with this whole cover-up narrative.
We sincerely want to get every answer that every curious, credible media outlet has and every curious, credible American has. But
credible.
You know, what I saw today.
Did you catch that? Curious, credible. Did you catch that? Again, friends, did you catch that? Because if you report on something that makes members of the administration or the president look bad, then apparently it's not credible. You know, witness statements, survivor statements, connecting numerous people to these crimes are credible. But when the same statements connect Donald Trump allegedly to crimes, then it's not credible. This is all the fucking game. And somebody bring up a great point. But Hillary had a reason. James Comer's name signed the subpoena, expecting this attorney general to acknowledge it, receive it, and then come and honor the subpoena. Well, I don't think she needs to do that. Nothing to see here. Why the fuck was Hillary there then? Why was she there?
Today, quite frankly,
Thank you,
was the Democrats trying to, embarrass Pam Bondi, trying to
Listen, we don't have to embarrass Pam Bondi. She does it every time she opens her fucking mouth. The Dow's at 50,000. Give me a break.
How salvage their false narrative that there's a cover-up and that Trump's guilty of crimes. It's very disappointing.
Pam Bondi is scheduled to be deposed, according to her subpoena, on April 14th. We will have to wait and see if she shows up. And if she doesn't, we will also have to wait and see if Chairman Comer threatens to hold her in contempt of Congress the same way he did to the Clintons when they threatened not to show up for their Epstein deposition.
So
this victim
let's unpack that for just a second, because there's so much. Summer Lee, I've got the transcript, because again, I have the fucking best mods in the business. This is the transcript. Hold on a second. Here's what happened. This is reported by Caitlin Collins. Here's what happened with Rep. Summer Lee and Chairman James Comer behind closed doors during the briefing with Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche. She was told. Lee, and again, Mr. Comer didn't deny it. He was asked, yeah, I said that. Sure enough. Lee, Mr. Chairman, there are no cameras here. You don't have to perform. We were told this was a briefing. Comer, it is a briefing. Lee, but she hasn't offered any information. This is a hearing. This is a hearing without cameras. This is a hearing without C-SPAN, and it's a hearing without the public. So what I'm asking is, he cuts her off. Comer, you want me to scoot some chairs around and make a circle? Would that make it feel more like a briefing? Again, to which Lee responds, I would like C-SPAN. I would like you to bring in the transcribers. I would like you to go through with the decorum and with the rules. He again cuts her off. Are you trying to find information or trying to embarrass the Attorney General? Lee, quote, absolutely not. I think the Attorney General is a woman who is completely able to defend herself, and I'm not attacking her. I'm questioning you. You run this place. What I'm asking you is, will you commit to going as far as, again, he cuts her off, I've already issued the subpoena, she says, and this is not the deposition. Comer says, you've wasted 3 minutes of everyone's time just kind of bitching, to which Lee then responds, really? Wow, bitching? Nice. And then for James Comer to say, well, you know, she's the Attorney General. Why does she have to come in? So this is what I would ask. You know, I've seen the chirping in the chat this morning. Why, if the Attorney General of the United States, let me see if I can lay this out for you. The Attorney General of the United States, who as of today is 90 days past due in violation of a federal law, signed unanimously by members of the Senate, signed with the exception of one, Clay Higgins, in the House, and then signed into law by the president, directing the Attorney General to release everything connected to the e-files, very specific instructions, what's to be redacted, what's not to be redacted. If that person there's no need to have them come back and testify under subpoena, then why the fuck was Hillary Clinton there? Why? Why was she there? So again, miss me with your bullshit that this is the most transparent administration in history. When they tell you that they're transparent, it's exactly the opposite. Keep that in mind. On that point, I found something I think you guys will find extremely funny, because somebody did a translation. All right, so it says this. This is one portal of truth. When Trump or the Trump administration says fake news, what they mean is this is true and I hate it. Low IQ means their intelligence intimidates me. Horrible person means they tell the truth about me. Witch hunt means I did it and I hope that no one would find out. Hoax means this is a damning indictment of me and my legal activities. Many people are saying means I just made this shit up. Believe me means what I'm saying is not true. Nobody knows more about X than I do, which means I know almost nothing about X. Very unfair means I'm being treated the same as everyone else. Total loser means they criticize me or stop supporting me. And great guy means they are loyal to me. So, yeah. So again, back to this briefing. No subpoena. No cameras. No sworn, no oath taken, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it just gets worse for them, because we've got a couple people doing some work. Actually, I've got some people who've requested. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Steve.
How you doing?
Good. I'm all right. I'm taking it one day at a time. That's all we can do. I wanted to say just two things really quick. One is Pam Bondi doesn't need anyone's help to embarrass her. She embarrasses herself. But the Dow. Her voice is so annoying. It's like nails on a chalkboard. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And then
True.
You had someone up yesterday, and I think it might have been Airwolf. But he was telling his story about how he was referring to Donald Trump and what he said about Gavin Newsom. President Gavin Newsom is what he said exactly.
Correct.
Being dyslexic. And he was telling his story about how he was bullied. And I just wanted to say I went through all the same things that he did. I totally related to what he was saying. I'm a nurse, and I have dyslexia, and I am very, very, very successful, and anyone can be successful even if you have dyslexia. And I just wanted to say, I appreciated you having him up so he could say that, because he's not alone out there in what he's experienced. And he said he was in the Air Force and became really successful. So that's amazing. And just like I am a successful nurse, anybody can be successful. Doesn't matter what your disability is. It's so infuriating. And this is the person that we call the President of the United States, who, says, grab him by the pee and makes fun of disabled people.
Correct.
Disgusting. He's disgusting.
Well said. Well said, Heather. Thank you, friend. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Steve.
You got it. Talk to you later. On that very topic, of course, the Gavin Newsom press office has responded. Probably the best follow you'll get on X these days. And when they respond, they usually respond in all caps. This is the statement from addressing exactly what Heather was just talking about when the president referred to Gavin Newsom as, low IQ because he has dyslexia. Now that I, Gavin C. Newsom, I am officially president of the United States. Thank you, Donald. I have many big announcements to make. First, every Trump executive order is null and void. Stephen Miller and every Trump goon is fired, and the Trump corruption probe is officially launched. Healthcare is now free for all Americans, no measles, and all moms get free childcare so we can have more babies. Also, cannabis is now legal and abortion is back for women who want it. I will soon be banning all Ticketmaster fees, and there'll be no more commercials allowed during NBA and NFL games, as well as all Bravo Real Housewives shows, longer episodes. Every American family now gets a tariff and gas spike refund to buy a cheap electric car. The country is now run by someone who can actually complete a sentence. America is now hot because you have a dyslexic president instead of a brain dead one. Big upgrade, Governor GCN. That is how you play the petty game right there, because that shit will get under the president's skin like you can't even imagine. The best part is every American now gets a tariff and gas spike refund to buy a cheap electric car. Speaking of that, gas prices today sit at $3.88 nationally. That is up 6 cents since yesterday. It was $3.59 a week ago. It was $2.92 a month ago. It was $3.10 a year ago. So yeah, so that would be President Gavin Newsom apparently. So back to James Comer and back to the whole Pam Bondi thing. This is just another example, right? Again, there's just this perception that the administration will just continue to gaslight Americans. And people are starting to see through it. And you're starting to see, you're starting to see some real changes. You're starting to see a lot of pushback, and maybe there's more people to convince. So, Unknown User, I brought you back up. You've said some pretty despicable things up here, and I'm wondering if you've had an opportunity to kind of rethink your opinion on stuff.
I want to say thank you. Good morning to you. My opinion is my opinion. it takes more than
I understand that. I understand that. I'm asking you if you've thought more about it and perhaps considered changing your opinion.
Oh, I thought hard about my opinions, but I'm still on the stance where I'm at right now.
So you don't care. You believe that women are subservient to you.
I didn't say they were subservient. I never said women were subservient to me. There's an order in things, and I believe in the order. That's the way I was raised.
Exactly. Get the fuck out of here. Thank you for proving my point. There's an order. So if there's an order, then in your world, you are here, and then there's the order. So therefore, by definition, sir, they are subservient to you. So I'm glad I could expose you yet again. And it was a simple question that I asked. We understand what your opinions are. Your opinions are fucking disgusting. So I asked you a simple question. Would you consider changing your opinions? And you said no. And then when pressed about how you believe women are subservient to you, you said, well, no, I just believe that there's an order. Throat Punch Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free. Jess, you got your mitts on? If you know, you know. Anyway, that's the fight, friends. That is the fight. So, people have got to be willing to change, right? As we have discussed in this space many, 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 many times. I am really worried about young men. We've done the manosphere discussion. We had the red pill. We've all watched Inside the Manosphere. If you haven't, please watch it. I was able to watch it in a Discord last night because I wanted to see if there's anything that I missed. And, here we sit. And you've got people like that. Generational misogyny. Literally there's an order. You don't just say it with your full chest. You just don't value women. You don't want them participating. You don't want them in business. You don't want them to vote. You don't want them to have a voice. Just say it with your full chest. Don't try to pussyfoot around it. Again, it's all men until it's no men. And because of people like you who genuinely think you are on the correct side of history, you're not. You're intimidated because you're likely mediocre at best. On your best day, you are likely mediocre. And you look at the women around you and they're smarter than you. They're tougher than you. They're more talented than you are. They're higher achievers. If we didn't have a system rigged against them, they would ultimately be higher earners. And you don't know how to address it. So the order, sir, is you're a fucking sub and you don't want to admit it. So good luck with that. All right. So we're going to stay on the Epstein files quite a bit today just because there is so much more to uncover there. And there's more and more information that's becoming available. Dan Goldman has been doing a lot of really good work. And I really like Dan Goldman. Again, he's the kind of person that we want to have more of in Congress because he is unapologetic. He is just unapologetic about how he will call shit out. He's smarter than most people. He's smarter than just about everybody on the Republican side. And he can hold his own in a debate, and he's great. I really like him. So he went on the record yesterday talking about more and more corruption and cover-up by the DOJ. And we've got some, thank you, appreciate you. On Substack, thank you for that. Oh yeah, by the way, subscribe to Substack. I don't have a lot of content over there, but when I get an idea to post something, I post it there. So that's kind of where it goes. From I write, so that's where I go. Anyway, long story short, you can follow me on Substack as well. It's free. Okay, so there's more and more information that's becoming out that contradicts things the president said. I'll get to that in just a second, but this is Dan Goldman yesterday.
Focus on one victim's allegations that the FBI unquestionably found to be credible. The DOJ tried to hide reports of 3 of the 4 interviews that this victim gave to the FBI, but pressure from the media and Congress forced them to disclose them. And now we know why. She credibly accuses Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her when she was between 13 and 15. In each of her interviews, this victim recited the same account of her interaction with Donald Trump. On August 7th, 2019, she explained that she was between 13 and 15 when she was left alone with Donald Trump who, quote, mentioned something to the
trigger warnings, friends. Okay, this is abuse. This is grape. So trigger warnings.
Effect of, let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be. Trump unzipped his pants and put her head down, quote, down to his penis, bit the S out of it. Trump struck the victim and said words to the effect of, get this little B the hell out of here. The victim advised that she bit Trump's penis because he disgusted her. She provided some additional details in the next interview 2 weeks later, and then a month later, she met again with the FBI.
See, here's the cult. So Adrian thinks he's onto something here. It never effing happened. You see how angry and mediocre that Adrian is? Because he has to put things in all caps to get my attention. Well, you got my attention. See, this is the thing, Adrian. This is the thing. You believe that everybody else with allegations against them in the Epstein files are guilty. Bill Clinton, Larry Summer, Les Wexner, Howard Nuttlick, all those people. And yet there's more information, allegations connecting Donald Trump to these crimes, and your response is never fucking happened. That's why we tell you that you're in a cult. You have been propagandized. You have been led to believe that because the president tells you that he's innocent, even though we have so many contradictions, the things that he has said, you still don't believe it. We are all sitting here saying we understand allegations are just that. They are allegations. If you want to assume that somebody like Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or whomever it might be, or Les Wexner, if you believe that they're all guilty because of allegations against them, then why don't you have the same energy for allegations against the president? Because otherwise, what you're saying is no one is responsible. They're all lies. 1,200 survivors that we know of. That would be 1,200. And you sit up here like, stomping your feet because your entire life is centered around your support for Donald Trump. How pitiful a life must you have? How absolutely empty and shallow and lonely your life must be. Now, we know because you are so lonely that you choose not to believe women because you probably were ignored, and people probably told you that, women said, I don't really want anything to do with you because of your beliefs, because you're such a horrible person. And now you're angry because of that. So you glom on to a particular political movement or an identity that supports your hatred towards others, that supports your hatred towards women, that your hatred towards survivors. So you come into a TikTok live and the host is talking about how we want to defend and call out people. None of us care. None of us care what side of the political spectrum you're on. We truly do care about the survivors. And you're in here every single day, Adrian, every single day. And you just can't escape the cult. You can't escape it. The chat sees you. And you know what? At the end of the day, Adrian, I still want you to have health care. I really do. I still want you to have health care. Sorry. Good morning, Vinny. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to tell you that I really enjoy your platform, and I listen to you a lot.
Thanks.
I'm a neutral person, and I've been watching everything since 2016, just watching everything that's been going on. And I do notice one thing, that from the time that Donald Trump became president, there's been this thing just to hate him, and no matter what, it seems people are just looking for reasons to hate him, and everything that he does, the hate has just gotten so monumental. I wonder if you guys realize this sometimes. It's like all the things that are important is taken over by this hate for this man. He's easy to hate, trust me. I know myself.
So, well, you're not neutral, Vinny. If you're trying to defend him, so can you? Let me back up a second.
This was before. This is defending him. This is just showing hate.
Well, no, but you're talking about that. You're saying that it's hate. You're saying it's hatred towards him. So let me. Do you understand why people I don't hold hate for people. Do you understand why we talk about the president in the context that we do?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, I do. And I understand.
Why?
Because of all the things that he is doing, not doing, and especially saying is just absolutely, I mean, it's not good.
Okay,
and he doesn't seem to be
when we call it, first of all, do you believe that he's a convicted felon?
Well, yeah, he was a convicted felon.
Right, he is. Do you believe that he's an adjudicated? Exactly. Do you believe that he's an adjudicated sexual predator?
No. I don't have enough facts for that yet.
Well, let's unpack that for just a second, okay? So he was found liable in a court of law for forcibly and digitally penetrating a woman with his fingers.
She's doubtful, though, because the book that she wrote...
Wait a minute, Vinny. See, this is what I mean. You're not neutral. Okay?
I am neutral. I'm looking at this person. This person's not credible.
Vinny, you're not neutral. You're defending this. So here's the issue. Okay, here's the issue. And I normally don't carry people for this long on this particular topic because it's ridiculous. A jury found her credible. A jury believed her. So if you were digitally penetrated forcibly against your will, would you not want someone to believe you?
Well, of course, but I wouldn't talk about it.
So why is it different for you than it is for somebody else?
I never said that.
Well, you are implying that because you said she's not. Because you said she's not. Well, you said she's not credible, though.
In my eyes, in a neutral position. There's too
That's
much information.
not neutral, Vinny.
I'm hearing too much information on both sides, and it's
no, you're not.
Overload.
Vinny, you're not neutral. You're defending this. What would you? Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a different question. What would you call forcible penetration of your vagina with fingers? What would you call that?
That's irrelevant.
What would you? No, I'm asking you. What would you call it?
I honestly don't know.
You don't know what you would call that?
No.
You don't know if a man forcibly and deliberately penetrated your vagina with his fingers, you don't know what you would call that?
No, because it's something I try and keep out of my head.
I'm asking you what you would call it. What would you call that?
Probably sexual assault.
Or grape?
No. I wouldn't call it that. I would call it sexual assault.
You can get the fuck out of here. Wow. Don't relent on the truth, friends. Don't relent on the truth. So when you're pressed, damn. I'm sorry, friends. I don't normally like to carry those conversations as long as I did there, but oftentimes it's sometimes a bit necessary. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, she was interesting.
That's a good word. That's an interesting word to use. But yeah.
I just want to point out to her and anybody else who has that kind of attitude. Nobody likes to think about things like that happening to anybody, but some people don't have a choice in thinking about it because it happened to them.
Exactly.
So yes, it's unpleasant, but yes, a whole ton of people in here will have been victims of that kind of crime, and it is a crime. And I don't care what it is that you are forcefully inserting into another human, that is grape.
Correct. Correct. But she was neutral, Erica.
Well, I think she and I, do you know what's interesting? I just had a lesson it's lunchtime for me right now. I had a lesson with a group of kids earlier where we were talking about the word objective and the word subjective. And it's crazy to me that the 11 and 12-year-olds that I was teaching about objective and subjective can tell the difference, and that woman couldn't.
That's correct. Have you watched Inside the Manosphere yet?
I have.
Interesting, right? Because I think, and I mentioned this before, the part that was really disturbing, well, all of it was, but one of the most disturbing parts to me was when Sneeko was walking around the streets in New York with Louis, and he was mobbed by teenage boys. How much they idolized him, and how much they worshipped him, how excited they were to see him. That was disturbing. And that's what people really, really, really need to be focusing on when we talk about how, dads, boy moms in general, all of us have really got to be paying attention. So I'm sure you see it.
Yeah. Do you know what really struck me about the whole thing? People are very quick to blame women for their sons being the way they are. But the thing that every one of those men, and I use the word men loosely, had in common with one another was actually the failure of their fathers.
Correct.
It wasn't the failure of their mothers.
Correct.
It was that their fathers were violent, or their fathers were not in the picture, or that they had attachment issues with their fathers. It was their fathers that were the issue. It was not their mothers.
Totally agree. I didn't bring it up for that reason. I just mentioned it to say, hey, boy moms, are you paying attention to what your boys are doing? That was more the more my point.
And my comment wasn't in relation to that. It was just the theme, and Louis Theroux brings up towards the end of the documentary that actually every single one of them was brought up in a family environment that was perhaps not optimum. And by the way, a family environment not being optimum doesn't necessarily mean you have a single parent. That's not necessarily it not being optimum. It's not necessarily that, that there's a split in a relationship. It's about the way you are treated by your parents. And I just found that interesting that all of them, one of them had violence. Well, a couple of them had violence. The HS Tiki Toki, which, by the way, I would never be able to take him seriously because he's called HS Tiki Toki.
Or HS, right?
His dad, he'd never had any relationship with his dad ever.
No. Dad's an English rugby. I think his dad's either an English footballer or an English rugby player, I believe, right? I think that's what they say.
I looked it up.
Yep.
You can probably, I couldn't find who it was, but you could probably work it out. But from the fact that he has a very different complexion than his mum. So which means his dad's probably around my age, and there are very few, rugby players of colour at that time. So you can probably narrow it down to a few people. But yeah, it was just, and I see that in the classroom all the time, constantly. And so teachers and parents, great parents are doing a job to try and get their boys out of that kind of red pill space. All you can do is be vigilant and have conversations when these things arise, really.
Agreed. Be willing to listen, don't judge, try to learn. I appreciate your perspective on that, friend. Thanks for jumping in today. It's good to see you.
No worries. Drop me down. I've got to teach people stuff.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Yeah. I mean, again, people should really watch it because we listen. We have these conversations in these spaces, right? And we know. I think about Ash, I think about Reggie, and I think about others who host these panel discussions, right? And they'll bring up young men. A lot of them, they they seem to be attracting men like in between 23 and 30. So that group, right? So they're on the tail end of the Gen Z, but you hear what they're spewing, and it's literally what we watched. And the entire, I won't spend a lot more time on this today because we talked about it a lot this week, but it was initially the draw was the grift. The draw was trust in me, I'll show you how to make a buck. Trust in me, I'll show you how to get fit. Trust in me, I'll show you how to have confidence and have fancy cars. And then when you convince them, when you've got them hooked based on their belief that to be successful, I have to do all these things, that includes being a misogynistic pig. Many of the men talk about one-sided monogamy. So they already look at women as property. They look at their children as property. They don't want to raise their kids. Famous moments, I don't do diapers, I don't do baths, I just go out and make money. So then that sort of permeates into everything. So this group of people that are being red-pilled are sold a lie because the entire thing was based on a grift, but it's perpetuated now. It's become this entire thing, and then it feeds apparently women too, because we had a guest this morning who, again, you claim to be neutral, and yet you couldn't answer the question when asked about it yourself. You know what the answer was, but you're going to choose to not believe somebody else and then try to convince people that you're neutral? I don't think so. Doesn't work that way. Good try, though. Good luck. Exactly. Trust in me. You're exactly right. Good morning, friend. How are you today?
Good morning, my friend. I'm doing well. Happy Friday Eve, everyone. Just very quickly, I wanted to say when you talked about boy moms, right? And in the context of that conversation, I just wanted to share a little W I'm feeling this morning. And I'm going to share it with you, Steve. So you're about to take a couple flowers, whether you like it or not. Oh, well, I guess I should get your consent. So I'd like consent to give you some flowers. My son, the youngest of the 4 young men that I've raised, right? I picked him up from school yesterday and we were having a conversation, and he said to me, I don't understand why people have to change words on TikTok to silly words. He was having this conversation with his friends. And I said, well, we took over a child's app, terms of service. It also depends on who you are and how much you get away with, whatever. And I said, what words in particular do you find silly? And he said, well, I think the word pew pew is ridiculous. I find that very silly. He said, but the biggest one I see is changing a word into a fruit, that fruit being grape. And I said, really? And what bothers you about that? And he said, I don't know how we reduce such a serious conversation to something as silly as that, and it takes the urgency and awareness off of it. Now, this is my 17-year-old kid.
Wow.
He's graduating. He's a senior. And the reason I wanted to share these flowers with you, Steve, is when I have to bring him to school, there are many times where he's listening and getting knowledge from you because I've got you playing in my office. And he sits quietly and he listens. And he is a kid that already understands that young men need to hold other young men accountable and have these conversations. He was having this conversation with his classmates in their study hall. They could have been doing anything else, but that's what they're talking about. And I think that's amazing. And so I wanted to share that with you while you were having that little bit of a conversation and you mentioned boy mom. That's it. And that's all. And I love you so much.
Well, I love you too. I'll take the flowers, but you take yours too, because you're obviously raising very strong and well-tuned and self-aware young men. So you can take your flowers too. Deal?
That's a deal, my friend. I love you. You can go ahead and drop me down.
I love you. I love you too. Talk to you later. Maybe we're getting through, and that's the whole point here. I mean, it's that particular age group. I mean, talk about a self-aware kid. Why? I mean, I to be honest, I never even thought about it that way. Never even thought about it that way. We're reducing something so horrible down to fruit. We all know why, right? It's not reductive in the conversations, but thank you, Swish. I appreciate you. That's awesome. More of those. Those conversations will fuel me every day and every day. Hi, Jen. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, I just kind of want to piggyback on that. A lot of it, even though you're saying that, the dads, and it has to do with the dads, because it absolutely does, but the moms need to take some responsibility too. Like, I raised two very, very great young men, and I have a beautiful, wonderful daughter. And I remember when they were younger and my son was tickling my daughter and she kept saying, no, stop, stop, stop. And she was playing, and I came in there and I was like, no, when someone says stop and a girl says stop, you say stop. Does not matter if she's laughing, doesn't matter anything. If she says stop, she says no, you stop immediately. It starts when they're little. Just wanted to,
Yeah, it does. Like thanks for jumping in, Jen. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining today.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. I mean, I'm an advocate for age-appropriate sex ed. I've always been an advocate for age-appropriate sex ed, like, proper names for body parts, right? And that still happens now. You still hear people who are woke, who are aware of these kinds of things. We still have people referring to body parts in strange ways. Let's call them what they are. Learn it early. Learn what good touch and bad touch is. Don't forget, a lot of victims of abuse, when a person in their life that they love touches them inappropriately, unless they're told it's not, then they don't know that it's bad touch. And then that goes all through, primary school, grade school, high school with consent. You teach these things early. It's not gonna eradicate all these horrible crimes, but at least if people are aware more. And we in the West, and primarily in the States, because of the influence of evangelical Christianity, are afraid to talk about these things. It's like taboo. And I think it leads to a problem. And I wish we could approach these things societally a lot different than we currently do. And that would be something I would want for the future. Talk about changing curriculum. Sign me up. Hello, friend. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You should check your email if you haven't. I sent you a whole bunch of stuff. Hope this goes back.
Oh, well, I did not see it. So, yes, I will check my email. Thank you for telling me. I had to come up here and talk about Miss Neutral. Got to talk about Miss Neutral.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I think a couple things. So first of all, people need to understand that when you don't make a decision, you're still making a decision. I used to have that posted on my desk when I worked at a PBS affiliate, because a lot of times people think that being in the middle is not making a decision. But if it's not a yes, it's a no. So think about it this way. So your friends invite you over for the weekend. Yeah. So they invite you over to the weekend. They say, hey, we're having drinks. Are you going to come? And we in America always like to say things like, well, I'll think about it. And the reason why I say America is because back in the day, back in the 90s, I used to date this guy from South America. And he told me how he was like, you Americans always speak in this ambiguous language and you all don't act like either it is or it isn't. And so because we speak in such purgatory language, we're in this in between. I'll try to make it, I'm thinking about it. We think that's making a decision. When, ultimately, the underlying thing is you don't want to go anyway, so you're not going to go because you didn't tell them yes. And so when you don't show up and they say, hey, you didn't come, then you say, well, I told you I was thinking about it. I wasn't sure, because we think that that's making a decision. So for her to say that she's neutral sounds like the dude that she supports who said there's good people on both sides, because she's trying to make concessions for what he's been accused of, not believing this young girl, which leads me to the other thing. Another reason why patriarchy will never die is because there are women out here who are champions of it. Because, and the reason why victims, and I've revealed it on my lives, I unfortunately was a victim of being molested as a child. And so when I told in the 10th grade, I told my counselor at school, they called child services. And then my pastor was called. And the guy who did it was my stepfather. And he was able to talk his way out of it. And the pastor didn't even believe. Now, the counselor told she had to report it. I don't know if she believed me or not. It doesn't matter. But what I do know is she's the only one who accelerated it. But he talked his way out with the male police who came to the house. He talked his way out of the male pastor that I had as well. And I remember in the early 2000s, I needed a bail bondsman, had to call the pastor because his wife wasn't bail bondsman. So I was talking to him about it. And at the end of the conversation, he asked me, he was like, remember when you reported your stepfather? And I was like, yeah. He said, was it true? I said, yeah. It was true. So patriarchy will never die because we have men who don't believe the victim and we have women who don't believe the victim. This girl is 13, between 13 and 15, who said that this dude did X, Y, and Z to her. You know, we're speaking in code now.
Correct.
And there are so many women, because I'm 53 now, so I was once a 13-year-old girl. And I know that there's a difference between the way our bodies as Black girls develop and the way that white girls develop, because we tend to be a little more voluptuous at 13 and 15. We tend to have more curves. We tend to be adultified as young Black girls. And so people look at us like we're 18, 19, when in actuality we're 14 because our bodies just develop, because that's just DNA. And so we're blamed for how men approach us and deal with us. But even a young white girl who may be a stick figure at 13, she's blamed because you got this grown woman on your podcast here who would not believe a 13-year-old who said what she said about what this dude did, because she's so busy wanting to support and give him the benefit of the doubt that she wouldn't believe a child, as if this child is going to somehow, who's now a grown woman, like she's going to just conjure this up for what? What's the benefit? What's the benefit of her coming forward and mentioning something that happened to her as a child? What's the benefit? So as long as women don't believe other victims, specifically female victims, we will never get rid of the system, ever. As long as we find a way to say, well, what did she do? What did she do to entice him? How was she dressed? What was she wearing? Now, at 13, we don't know no better. And, you know, you and I were teenagers in the 80s. We didn't have a whole bunch of processed food. We didn't have the hormones in the food and whatnot. So we still developed voluptuously. A little less than the girls today, but we were still voluptuous. And yet people will say, well, what was she wearing? How did she speak to him? Did she come on to him? We don't even know what coming on to somebody means at that age. And so I just wanted to come up here and just say, first of all, Miss Neutral, you made a decision. Because you didn't stand on the side of, yes, I believe her, so you obviously don't believe her. If you don't say, yes, I do, then what you're saying is, no, I don't. Because we have to understand we live in this world where it's a dichotomy. It's either yes or no. We create the ambiguity, but it's either yes or no. That's why we teach our sons, if she don't explicitly say yes, if she's humming and hawing, it's a no. Until that girl says yes out of her mouth. Yeah, I'm ready. I want to do it. I want to whatever. It's a no. I don't care if she's touching and kissing on you. If you ask her and she doesn't say yes, it's a no. And then secondly, until we actually believe the victims, nothing's going to change. Here's my last point, and I'm glad I didn't forget. I think one reason why a lot of people struggle with believing that men can be this way, specifically white men, is because we're taught that God is a man. We're taught that Jesus is a white man. We got Santa Claus. Every superhero, except for Blade and maybe a couple others, are white men. So if we're indoctrinated from childhood that our saviors are white men, and you know, I'm a filmmaker, so we look at all the films, who comes and saves the day? Even if the predator is a white dude, the savior is a white dude. And so some people, well, all of us, since movies have been around, we've been indoctrinated with movies and TV shows. The cowboys were white, even though we know historically cowboys were black because that was a slur for them. And the cowhands were white. So the original cowboys were black, not white. But what we saw on television were John Wayne and all of them, the cowboys going and fighting the Indians and taking over the West. So if you've been indoctrinated from birth that your savior is white, from Jesus to God to Santa Claus to all the superheroes, you're going to struggle as an adult to believe that a white man could do something like that without being provoked, enticed. I mean, look at people blaming Delilah. And Samson wasn't even white because ain't no white people in the Bible. But I digress. So ain't no white people in the Bible, but you know, that's a whole nother conversation. But my point is, as long as we believe that our saviors are white men, we're going to struggle with white men having fallacies and flaws and being the predator themselves. There has to be something else that caused him to do what he did. Because remember, dude said he could pew somebody in the middle of the street and people still wouldn't believe it. They could see it with their own eyes. And if we could see it on tape, see it in person, you know what people will say? Well, what happened before the tape started rolling? Or what did she do before he actually did such and such and such? Because we as society cannot get over the fact that we've been taught that white men are right, white men are saviors, white men are the smartest, white men are the ones who will, who are the best to run the world. And we need to stand behind them no matter what. So, I land my plane. Thank you so much. You always let me have my spiel.
Not yet.
Not
yet.
Okay.
So something you said, I think is really, really important. It's like, who are these symbolically heroic figure white men saving women from? They're saving them from other men.
Right.
And predominantly white men.
Yes.
So it's like the full circle. When men say that they're to protect women, protect them from other men is the issue.
Yes, and the thing is, we in society, we don't teach people to not be predators. We teach people how to deal with predators. So women, you got to have your mace. You got to have your specific keychain. Be ready when you walk out the door. We don't teach men, hey, keep your hands to yourself. You're not entitled to her. I remember being in a work session and this is like an international company. So they were talking about how to deal with the bully in the office, and they're giving tips and clues and, don't say it this way and da-da-da-da-da. And so I finally said, because, when I went to Bible college, I was voted most likely to start a debate because I don't like to sit around and just listen to the status quo. Like, you're not going to...
I'm not surprised.
No,
I'm not surprised by that at all.
Exactly. Because I'm going to say what people are thinking. And so what I said to the lady, I was like, why are you teaching us how to deal with the person who's being the bully? And you're not giving tips on people, telling people not to be a bully. I don't understand that. We're so busy teaching people how to manage victimhood or manage being a possible victim versus telling the predators, cut that crap out or you're going to, XYZ is going to happen to you. And it's because the penalties are not strong enough to prevent people from doing things to other people because they know that crimes like this are not going to be reported. And when they are, the victim is going to be blamed. And if it actually goes to court, now you got to find people who aren't going to believe him or it's his first time or we're not going to ruin his life. Remember the young man who was raping the girl behind the dumpster? And she was unconscious and the two guys caught him and then the police came and he went to court and the judge said, well, I don't want to ruin his life. I don't want to, sentence him to jail for doing that, completely negating what happened to her, even with her victim impact statement. So yes, so as long as we protect predators, as long as we think that men are the saviors, we are screwed. We're screwed, and we have to get out of that mindset because you mentioned in a podcast a couple weeks ago about matriarchy, and everybody's screaming matriarchy, and you know my stance because I gave it. Until white women let go of racism and the benefits of patriarchy and the benefits of white supremacy, we're going to be screwed with matriarchy too. Because white women have been indoctrinated and they're going to lead us down the same path as white men because a lot of white women want to be in the position of white men anyway. So we're going to be screwed either way. Yeah.
I have no notes. I love you, friend. Thanks for jumping in. I appreciate you very much for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll check my email. Have a good one.
All right. You got it. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Damn. Ms. Nina, how are you today?
Hey, good morning. I came in recently, and I guess we're talking about essay. And
we will talk about whatever's on your mind. That's how it works around here.
I was trying to get on the other day that you were talking about the family and raising kids, and it had to do a lot with family orientation and having both parents at home. And I wanted to give my input on that, and this other topic also affects me because I'm a survivor of a childhood essay, and I have discovered that since I've been publicly speaking about it, a lot of people have come and share their stories with me. So I commend you for speaking on this because it's something that the more I speak about it, the more I find out a lot of women, I'm not alone in this, and it makes me even sadder because I stayed silent for a long time, thinking I was alone. And the more I speak, the more women I find that have gone through this, unnecessarily. And I agree with most of what your recent guest said. We live in a society that we're teaching people how to deal with these predators, where we don't teach people how not to be predators. So that's where my comment was coming about, because I am a single mom, and And I was commenting that day because, I come from a family. My parents were married until my dad passed away in 2022, over 50 years. So, but I wasn't that lucky, so I had to be a single mom. And for that reason being that I didn't want my children growing up in an environment when they thought that being hit as a woman was okay, and where a man hits a woman, it's okay because I have a boy and I have a son and a daughter. So it's a hard decision to make because nobody has kids thinking they're going to have to raise them by themselves. But sometimes as a woman, you have to make that decision because not all men are good men like you, like my dad, So, and you have to see, what do I want my child to be like? And what do I want them to know what is normal? And this is going to be hard, but I got to do it because I don't want them thinking this is normal behavior, So, I always stick up for single moms, and I know what the data says and everything. But sometimes for women, it's better to raise their children on their own than to have a toxic masculinity man, because toxic masculinity is not only verbal; it could be in so many layers, And when you already have been abused as a child, you see this, and you take it for a minute because you want your kids to have a family, what is normal in society, but then you realize, but this is not normal. How if I let it keep going, how far is it going to go? So it's a hard decision, and I commend single moms, and and it's hard because we always get judged. They always, and I was listening to all that show you had, and people were saying, and they were telling me in the comments, oh, but everybody judges single moms. But how about talking to the dads that leave those homes? Why didn't because I had to grow as a mom. I had kids when I was 32 and 33. So I had to adjust myself and grow as a mom. Why can you change yourself as a father and grow to be a better dad? Why is it our fault that we're single moms and that we have a single mom household? Where is the, why aren't you telling the men? Why do they not step up? Like I said, no, you think it's easy to be working 2 jobs just to put food on the table and a roof over your head, your kids, and still struggle? It's not easy. Nobody chooses to do that. Sometimes it's a matter of life and death, So that's one point, and the other point about the essay that is so common right now, and I'm so glad people are talking about it because I honestly at my 55 years of age, facts, I feel normal because all my life I felt like did it happen? Did it not happen? Is it true? Is it not true? Because I lost an entire family when I came out and said my uncle and my older cousin were abusing me because they said, how dare you talk about your uncle? He has a family. He has his children. And I was called all kinds of names. And I was in my young 20s when I unblocked that from my memory, and now I see that it's happening more. And now I'm not ashamed. At 55, it wasn't my fault. And this is my message to everybody that has gone through this. It's not your fault, especially if you were a kid. If you're a woman and you say no, it's no. And if you're a kid, you did not have consent for anybody to hurt you that way and for them to steal your childhood, which is one reason a lot of women decide to stay single, because we have gone through that. And by the time we give a chance to a stepdad to come into our lives to help us raise our kids or help us pay the bill, it's not worth it, because the time that it's going to take to get to know that man, it's like, okay, what if he does something to my kid? It's going to be too late, because there's no going back after an abuse, So it's a very difficult situation, because they label, oh, you must be, you must like women, you must do this, you must, I've been labeled all kinds of things all my life just because of my trust issues. But, I have my reasons for my trust issues. They didn't come out of thin air. At the age of 16, I was waiting for the bus after going to the library, and a man in a Jaguar stops right by the bus stop, and he's like doing things with his member. So me to see, trying to pick me up. I'm just a girl in high school, for God's sakes. This is a grown man with white hair doing that. It's like, come on. So how do you think I was when I had kids? I didn't let my kids take the bus, the public bus, because I had that experience, and it's just so much. And I'm just so glad that you give this space for women. And I love the way you always are protecting women, even though I tell the women always, we are naturally protectors, and you said it the other day perfectly. We don't need men. You're a complement in our life. If you're not going to make our lives better, we're better off alone. Okay. And especially we've been through stuff. You shouldn't be needed. We could take care of ourselves. We could take care of our cubs. We are natural protectors. We protect. And this is why I've been telling whenever I can, I go, no, nobody's coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. We always been having to save ourselves. And I had a protector dad. Okay. I love my dad dearly, and he was a great role model, and he even helped me with my kids. But at the end of the day, my dad raised me that way. You have to know how to do things, because a man comes and go. He put that in my head very early, and he stayed with my mom until the day he passed. But he always taught me, you have to learn how to change a tire. You have to know how to work. You have to be independent, because you don't know what life, because he came from a single mom. Okay. So, I could talk forever. I have a very long story, but I just wanted to come whenever I get a chance and commend you, because I love the way you always stand up for what's right, because at the end of the day, it's what's right. And we need more men to see this. And I'm seeing a shift, and I see it in young people too. Yesterday, I was in a local immigration organization that I participate in, and all the young men were, there's young men, Gen Z, and they're like, oh my God, commending me about the way that I speak, but at the same time, I get to talk to them and where they're at. And I have a young son that most people would think he's not a typical man because he was raised by a single woman. But you know what? I'm very proud of my son, because he respects women. He listens to women. He tells people, I wouldn't be the man I am if I didn't have a sister and a mom, so that makes me feel complete. And I always commend, I just want to commend single moms. I know it's tough for us out there. I know people are always judging us, but we had to do what we had to do. And trust me, we don't choose to raise children on our own. Sometimes it's just a difficult decision to see what you want your children to see and what you don't want your children to see. That is normal. And hey, it's life. And at the end of the day, my kids are proud of me. I'm proud of them. And that's that. I could talk forever, Facts.
Thank you, Nina. I just really appreciate your big heart and for sharing your story with us. And hearts in the chat for moms, for single moms, for the work that you do that's completely thankless at times. And you're right, society has a way of stigmatizing you and blaming you again. So I just want to thank you for your trust in me to share your story in our space. So thank you for being here, friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Have a good, you too. Be safe out there. Man, so many stories. Let's change the direction of the show today. I know a lot of folks have requested to try to get everybody's story up here today if we can. Happy to hold space. I would just, I would just ask if there is something you want to talk about, please, especially if it's personal and potentially triggering, maybe you would just be kind enough to offer a trigger warning. That would be fantastic. I would really appreciate that. Okay. Everybody keep tapping, please. Would really appreciate that. This conversation is extremely important. And I'm humbled that people are willing to share their stories here, but we are in a fight. There's no doubt about it. We are in a fight and we have to fix it. Hi, Megan. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, something that Nina kind of happily triggered in my head. So I was raised by a single mom. My brother and I were. Now, granted, her and my donor were married for almost 17 years, but he never was really in our lives. And in my late 20s, I asked him why he was never there. He flat out told me he never wanted to be a dad. So that's when I cut off all forms of contact with him. And I was kind of, well, I mean, trigger warning, I was abused in every way except SA with him. And then in like my mid to late 20s, I was looking for approval from men, so I was doing not so good things. And when I was 29, I was raped, and I didn't tell my mom anything because I didn't want her to be disappointed in me, because she did raise me on her own, and I didn't want her to think that she screwed up, because she didn't. And it wasn't until I was 32 I told her and my brother what had happened, and both of them just broke down asking if I was okay and everything. And I told them that I am, and I don't know, this is gonna sound bad, but in a weird way, I'm happy that happened to me, because it made me realize that I was going down a destructive path in my life and becoming a person I didn't want to become. And it made me do some self-reflection that I didn't need approval from men, and that I just needed to focus on myself and better myself for the kind of attraction that I wanted in my life. And then, like, if I did all that and I found my husband, and then we're kind of in like a tumultuous path right now. He had some infidelity, so we're split, and I'm doing more self-reflection on, yes, even though I love him, he's done this multiple times with infidelity. Do I want to stay with him? So it's, with me, when that happened, it's become like an all like inclusive self-reflection, and I don't, I had a word, but now I don't remember it. But
it's okay, we got you.
Yeah. I'm just, like I said, it, in a weird way, like, yes, it's traumatic because I still have PTSD from it, but it helped me turn my life around.
It wasn't, I mean, I know you probably know this, Megan, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. You're not to blame. You deserve better. You're enough.
You're going to make me cry. Stop.
It's the truth, though. It's the truth, right? I mean, you know that. Maybe you just need to hear it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I struggle with mental illness, and it is hard for me to realize that I am enough, because when I was growing up, I have an older brother, and he's been diabetic his whole life. He's been sick in and out of hospital his whole life. So me being the youngest kid, I kind of got pushed to the back burner. So I never got the I'm proud of you, or what do you need? Can I help in any way? Until I got older and I became the first college graduate in my family. And that was one of the first times that I can remember my mom telling me that she was proud of me. So it's a whole mess.
We're here to tell you that we're proud of you for sharing your story and being so open. And like I said, it wasn't your fault. You're not to blame. You deserve the best because you are enough.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Be safe out there, okay?
You
Come
too.
back.
I will.
All right. We love you. Hopefully you guys are okay with this conversation today, because I like where it's going. If this is triggering for folks, I completely understand. I totally understand that. We go into these shows having a general plan as to what we're going to cover on, but something we discuss brings up a thought, and I think that's beautiful, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I appreciate your faith in me to have these conversations, and I support anybody who wants to tell their story. again, keep in mind if it's too much, whether it be a triggering moment or PTSD, whatever that might be, please respect your own and protect your own peace. Billy, how are you today? Billy Sanders, how are you today?
Good. I wanted to touch on the single a little bit. I was raised by a single mom. I'm 65 now. She did a great job. She worked her ass off, raised 2 girls on her own.
Billy, can you turn your TV down or whatever the background noise is? It's hard to hear you over it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's no problem. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyways, I wanted to touch on sometimes you're married and you're still kind of a single mom. I knew I was not going to have a child until I was married because I grew up without a dad. And I didn't get married till I was almost 30. I had a child. I was 29 when I got married. I had a child at 31. We had a pretty good marriage to start. I did everything. He was just there. And I think about my mom all the time and her struggles. And my mom, he started the infidelity stuff. And I just couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. I'm still married to the man for 36 years. We're friends now. We don't live together. I haven't done anything with him since he started all his girlfriend rages there because I just don't play that. And so my daughter we raised, she's an adult now. She started getting molested by my niece at about 8 or 9 years old. And they were giving her drugs.
Trigger warnings, friends, just FYI. So trigger warnings, folks, just let you all know.
Yeah.
Trigger warnings. Yeah. So just please, if I could ask you just to not be super graphic, we can talk about those things. I just want to make sure I'm protecting the other people who might be listening, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anyways, my daughter went through this. I had no idea. No idea till she was an adult. She really didn't think it was wrong. She thought she was being taught. She was being groomed. But I feel like I raised her as a single mother, even though I was married. Now she has cancer and she's moved in with me, and I have a granddaughter who's 8, and I love them to death, but she feels like she was raised by a single mom too. Her dad I don't know, he just tuned out. He tuned out. She thinks if she was a boy, he would have liked her. I said, no. It's just how he is. I thought I married the man of my dreams, and I didn't divorce him because it was selfish of me and it was stupid. But I was not going to raise a kid without a dad because I didn't have a dad. I never had a dad, and it was so unfair. And I stayed with him for that. He knew, leave me alone. We're here to raise this baby. And then I find out years later everything that little girl went through with a relative that I really loved. And I had her. She was in my life since she was born. I had her most of the time. So you just never know. Sometimes you're married and still a single mom.
Sometimes you're right. Sometimes as you describe it, I'm sure there's a lot of women who feel the same way. I might, you might want to consider just being, honest with yourself and maybe your daughter about whether or not you want to share her story. I'm not judging. I'm just something so we can protect each other's spaces and each other's pieces.
Right,
but I wanted to share. I wanted to thank you for jumping in today and telling us your story. Thank you for being here, Billy. I appreciate you very much.
Bye-bye.
You got it. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Yeah, these are too many stories like this. Good morning. How are you today, friend?
Good morning, sir. I am very grateful to you for holding the space to have these conversations. And I wanted to come up and talk about our friend Brene Brown, who I love so much.
Right.
Because the common theme in all these stories and a common theme for many of us is shame, right? Like she did such great work around figuring out how to help people deal with these things that are based in shame. Because even back in the beginning of the show where we had our neutral friend, that neutralness was based in her own shame, right? Like there's a shame thing going on there. There's for all of us.
Seems like it.
Yeah. And so just for everyone, Brene Brown, if you're not familiar, she did some really great work, and she named like 3 things that help with this. First thing is you have to name the trigger, right? You have to name it, what it is. And then you check in and speak compassionately to yourself about it, right? You check in on the accuracy. Is it true that this was my fault? This thing that I'm telling myself subconsciously? Like, no, it's not. And then the third step, which is what you're doing right here, is you name it, you say it out loud with a compassionate witness who can hold that weight for you. And that act alone in and of itself is healing and reduces its power and allows us to collectively heal from this right here. And I know it's hard, and I know it's uncomfortable, and I know many people are having a lot of swirling things happening, I'm sure, inside them right now. And I really, really appreciate this so much, because this is how you heal from that. This is what we have to do. And so many people don't do it because it's so uncomfortable and it's hard and they don't know how to do it. That's why shame goes unhealed, because you don't talk about it. And so thank you. Thank you.
It is hard. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. But I mean, I think that Kima said it really, really well, that we still live in the patriarchy, and we're not going to get rid of it until obviously we know what needs to happen on my side of the aisle, so to speak. But so many women are caught up in it too. And just to hear her, not believe another woman when given the example that if this happened to you, what would you call it? And you couldn't even name it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes it, that just guts me. And I'm not surprised by it. I've heard it before, but that is just gutting. That is literally just gutting.
Well, and for your part in it too, Steve, being the man on the side of things, there's the shame factor in a lot of that behavior as well. I mean, we could do a whole FAD about shame. That might be a good topic.
Probably a good idea. Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually.
Because let me tell you, I every day I have client after client after client where we wrestle with and conquer those shame wounds, right? And people sometimes can't pay somebody like me to come and unpack all that for a 50-minute session. Or 6 months or a year for some. So this space allows for that, for those who maybe don't want to or can't or are scared to, for whatever reason. This allows people, I think, to do it a little more anonymously, a little more safe, maybe. I mean, I just really am always so moved by the people that come up and share such deeply, deeply held wounds. I mean, it just is a beautiful thing because of the healing that creates. And it's just really important. And I'm eternally grateful for your ability to, we call it distress tolerance. Tolerance for discomfort is how you heal. Gaining more tolerance for being able to sit with hard things and let them metabolize and move through you is how we heal. And this is really important. And I just love you for being willing to do it and holding it with such care. It was the thing that had me want to be part of everything that we do from the beginning, as you know. So
I appreciate
thank you,
saying
sir.
that. There's a line, because obviously I want to be able to have this space, but I don't want it to be, people come to us for a variety of things, but I of course I don't ever want it to be so triggering that people feel like we've caused more harm than good. there's a fine line there. So I'm always processing that in my brain.
I know. Yeah.
Occasionally throwing a disclaimer out there, just so we're trying to protect everyone's peace. But I don't know. We're just doing our best. That's all.
I mean, for
not
not being trained in how to do this, you pretty intuitively do it masterfully well, sir. And that I've always told you that you'd make a really good therapist if you ever, wanted to give it a shot.
Thank you.
You do well. And yes, Amy Lee, yes, DBT. That is the DBT. That is a DBT skill. Yeah. Dialectical behavioral therapy is great for this type of, yeah.
No, I appreciate you, friend. Thanks for saying that. We love you. Please
love you back.
Just keep being you. Have a good day. Be safe out there, okay?
I love you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Okay. Tom, I had seen that you requested if you wanted to come up, you can. All right, everybody keep tapping, please. Appreciate you all very, very much. Good morning, friend. How are you?
Hello, friend. Thanks for having me up. So
you got it.
Last year, I already shared some of my story, so I'm not going to go there, but you've used the word trigger, and I just want to explain what my experience is right now today. These conversations are triggering, but what I'm experiencing is, a lot of kind of like Polaroids in my head of, snapshots of the different times I survived in my life. And that is triggering, but I just want you to know, for me, as you're my friend, this is healing. That yes, it's triggering, but for me, this is healing. Hearing people like you and others be open and addressing these issues that have been in a lot of our lives for most of our lives. And thank you. It's triggering, but it's healing for me. I know not everybody's going to be able to feel that today, but I am feeling that. And I wish I remembered the lady's name, but she said, talking about these things, like most of her life, she felt like, was that real? Did that happen? I felt that. I know that feeling. Was that real life? Did I really experience that? And the healing part of today is, yes, I'm revisiting all of those snapshots in my brain, which aren't pleasant, but it happened. It was real, and I survived. And thank you. Love you.
Love you too. Thank you for being here. You know how much I love you. I appreciate you being here. Be safe out there, okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. We're here to provide space for our community, and if that's what we're talking about today, then let's go. Is it Kay or Quay?
I usually just say Curie 246.
Hi.
But Curie.
Hi, Curie. Hi, Curie. Hi, Curie. Thanks for being here. What's on your mind today?
Well, I was listening to what some ladies had to say, and it's really touched my heart to hear what's been going on. I know these things happen. You hear it on the news all the time. You hear it from things that people have said to you in the past or in the present. But you don't realize how deep it goes when so many have been affected. And it got me to remembering some of the things that had happened in my life that should not have happened if the system wasn't so broken. I remember distinctly when I was about 5 years old, and I was going to go to the cinemas, to the movies, and watch a matinee with a bunch of other children my own age. And when I came out, I was waiting for my parents to show up to pick me up to go home. Someone just approached me and told me that my mom had told him to pick me up and take me home. And being a young girl and quite frankly not wise, I agreed to go with this man that I've never met before just because he said, I'm going to take you to your mom. And when I noticed he was pulling me in the opposite direction of where I lived, it was by, I can honestly say, a miracle or the grace of God that before we turned the corner, my mother saw me and yelled out my name. So I was then my dad came up to him, ran up to him rather, and demanded that he let me go. And if I had taken even a minute quicker to leave with the man, I would have been gone round that corner and they would never know where I was, right? Another time I was going to school and me and my friend, we saw a man in a car. He called us over to find what? To find him masturbating himself. Okay. Another time I'm on a train, minding my own business, traveling with my cousins, and a guy just decides he's going to reach over and pinch my bum. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, these are things that happened to me when I was under the age of 14, from 5 to 14. The predator behavior of some men are off the charts, and there needs to be stricter laws to stop them. I know that it's about power, but the first thing is about restriction. And the only thing I can think of is extremely long jail sentences and castration. And that's basically all I had to say about that.
Well, Curie, thank you again for sharing your story. I appreciate that very, very much. I'm so grateful that it could have been worse. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for sharing and you're being here and being transparent.
But it's a cautionary tale. It's a cautionary tale for people that even if you think your child is not being abused, there's always somebody out there looking to take her or harm her. Even if it doesn't happen, there's always a close call or a horrific story, and we shouldn't have to choose between a close call and a horrific story. It's unacceptable.
Very well said. Thank you again for being here today. I appreciate you very much. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to do that. You all are enough. Keep that in mind. I just want to be respectful and mindful of people's reactions to these difficult conversations. I want to hear voices. That's why we're here. Like I said, never intended for this conversation to happen today. I'm really glad it is happening. Maybe we just be a little mindful of details if possible. I do not want to diminish anybody's story. That is not my intention. I just want to make sure that we can protect everybody that's in the space. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Indigo, how are you today?
Good, thank you. I really appreciate the conversation topic today. I have several. I love listening to people coming up, and it definitely brings about several thoughts. One, I wanted to share that again. When I was underage, under 18 is pretty much when I experienced the most amount of predator actions as well. This includes walking home from school, having men exposing themselves, following and doing things in their car while following me. I have so many stories, unfortunately, including, also SA prior to even being 14. Even once before I was even 10. So, I still have never told my parents, so it makes me crazy when people say, oh, well, they should have said something right away. They can't speak for all victims. You don't know how you're going to respond. I'm so sorry. I'm kind of nervous. It's, but I really,
it's okay.
I really appreciate, it's interesting. That's one thing with TikTok that's been kind of really nice for me is hearing other people's stories, feeling a part of the community. And another thing that caught my attention was several people who came up several people ago. She used the term typical male, and that's a term I use, and I've never heard someone use that as well. And I'm curious how she defines it, but how I define it is growing up. To me, the typical male, we're basically not trusting predators that are kind of out for one thing. There's definitely a vibe about them. And my husband, I would use that term, typical male. And he's like, what do you mean? Because he grew up very, kind of protected. He wasn't really exposed to a lot of because he's like in private schools and whatnot. And I had to explain to him, and once I explained it to it really opened his eyes, and so he could like kind of, when he would start hearing, like actually hearing what men were saying, and then when we watched movies, it started to impact him differently, and now he gets it. He's like, oh my gosh, men are disgusting, you know. So he gets it, and but he also knows it's not all men. I mean, I've met wonderful men. There's so many wonderful men out there, but unfortunately, it does feel, from at least my perspective as a female, that the majority of them are like typical males, and then you have these diamonds in the rough of these wonderful men. And I do agree, it's really going to take men to start calling other men out. And I mean, I love Parker and Dean, and they're so passionate about calling it out and sticking up for vulnerable children and women and calling it out without hesitation. And there just needs to be more of it. Absolutely. I too have sons, and and so I feel really happy that, you know, they weren't pulled into. My one son kind of started getting pulled into that whole red pill, because they're totally targeted on these apps. It's crazy. But you know, he quickly realized that like it's toxic. So I feel like we did something right, because I can see the danger in it. I feel for all the parents that see this happening, and it's terrifying that this culture, this weird bro culture that's toxic, being allowed to thrive like that. And another caller talks about, and this is something I feel passionately about too, is our justice system has let us down. There are people who get sentenced for minor things for longer times than these serious criminals that are preying upon and taking advantage of and assaulting children and women and etc. It blows my mind every time you see their sentencing. That needs to be corrected, in my opinion.
That's why we say it's all men, Indigo, because it's the system. That's why we say that. That's the point. You know, obviously there, again, I'm not the arbiter, but there obviously are good men out there. But the problem is it is all men until it's no men, because of the system built by, for, and to protect men. That's why we say it.
Well, I just wanted to let everyone know, like, you're not alone. Thank you for sharing your stories. I appreciate them. I appreciate you guys creating a space for this type of community, because it is a tough situation. It's tough. So believe the victims, and it should not be made less of, by no means.
Completely agree. Thank you, Indigo, for sharing your story with us and for being here today. We appreciate you. I
appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks. You got it. Thanks a lot. Yeah, no doubt. There's so much to unpack there. So much. We're good. We're good. I've said this before. Part of the, how do I want to say this? Part of the challenge that personally that I have having these conversations is because there is a lot of rage connected to it for me, just because I see a system that prioritizes horrible, disgusting, despicable behavior, and it's almost celebrated, right? So we watch Inside the Manosphere, and that's not the only documentary, or that's not the only information, that's not the only topic that gets discussed there, but it becomes a status symbol to abuse women. How many you can abuse. And it's, yeah, exactly, Heather. It's like, it's celebrated. It's celebrated. I am a glass half full kind of person. I always have been. It's annoying to people that I tend to be Pollyanna when it comes to everything. That's just how I've fueled myself through life having that approach to things. It's difficult to see the glass half full in these circumstances, but if there is a glass half full moment, it's perhaps either having conversations like this or exposing how big and how deep and how horrible this entire global network is. Now, will white men, and for the most part, be held accountable on a grand scale? Likely not. Will some? Yes. Should they all? Absolutely. So if that is the moment, or if this is part of the future, then I'm glad to be part of those conversations to expose this stuff, which is why I said we will never stop talking about it. It's sure we'll cover the news as we do, but we're never going to stop talking about it. Not just because it relates to the Epstein files, but just how big it is and how dangerous this cycle is. And until other men hold other men accountable, it's never going to change. So it has to start there. Everybody keep tapping. Good morning, friend. How are you?
I'm good, surprisingly. How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to unpack a lifetime of abuse and such that I've, encountered, because really, I mean, we're all in that boat to some degree. But what I am going to say is that the stigma around blaming women for things like this happening has got to stop. We need to stop blaming ourselves for it, because it wasn't anything that we did that made these sick fucks take advantage of us. And people, women, men, children who have been taken advantage of need to realize that, yes, it was traumatizing. Yes, it was hard on our mental load. And it is hard, and it will be a lifetime of unpacking and therapy to help us cope with everything that we've endured. But we are not the ones with the mental issues. Those sick fucks who took advantage of us are. And you can't unpack and stay there in that. And I'm going to switch gears slightly a little bit to single parenthood because I kind of seem to be a pro.
You are a pro, by the way.
It was a sacrifice that I was willing to make, and I had to make for the sake of my children. There were stigmas around single parenthood, and single moms getting a bad rep. I fought for over 6 years in court with my ex over custody because Minors Counsel believed that being a single parent was worse than being a two-parent household. And they tried everything they could to prove that my ex was a better household situation for my son on the spectrum. When my ex was not involved, he was in and out of his life. He never did the training classes for parents. He never attended any of the resources that the regional center and the schools had provided, the IEP meetings that I had to do annually, the IPP meetings that I had to do annually, the open door policy of therapists coming in and out of my home 5 days a week for 3 hours a day to do early intervention and discrete trial training with my son, just to get him to a societally, and I'm air quoting here, societally acceptable phase of behavior. I endured all that. And after a 6-hour long trial, the judge finally said, you know what, Ms. Bell, you have done everything to prove you are the better fit to, your child's environment and conducive to what he needs to thrive. I have no reason to believe that we should be taking him from your care to put him with his father. And so the judge cut back his visitation. He kept him with me, and he finally saw the sacrifices I made and gave him back to me. And his dad, of course, didn't agree with it and said, I think it was bullshit. So if you stop child support against me, I'll walk away and never bother you again. And for $183 a month that his dad was giving me at the time, I said, okay. And we have not heard from his dad in over 15 years. He is still trying to run my name through the mud to this day and blame me for walking away. But I stand by what I did. My children deserve a better life than what I grew up in, and I made a promise to them when I had my oldest that I was going to do better by him and give him better than what I had. And I have been nothing but criticized for sticking to that promise. I've never had men in my family support me or protect me or back me up, but I'll be damned if my boys, my men, my young men will ever be disrespectful to another woman or to a female or to another person. They are very well mannered. They are happy. They are loved. They know love. Disabilities or not, they are such a blessing to my life and so worth the sacrifices of relationships and social life and traveling and all the things that everyone thrives to have. I would do it again in a heartbeat because they show me every day what true love is and what acceptance is, and to not miss out on the real joys of life. And I'm completely content with that. And I'm ready to fight the patriarchy. This shit needs to stop. It needs to stop.
No notes. You know how I feel about you, friend.
I know. And I appreciate you. You are one of the very few men in my life who have my back. And I can't thank you enough for that. You don't know what it means to me and to this community for you to do what you do on a daily basis and have our back. So I appreciate you and Hector and the few men that do what you do. And I can't say it enough. Thank you.
Thank you, friend. You can take your flowers too. We love you. Be safe out there. Have a good day, okay?
I will. You too. Love you too.
All right, bye. I just need a quick break. I'll be right back.
Facts still matter, so stand up, lean in. You don't need a cape just to help someone win. Do something simple, do something true, or make a sandwich for a friend, hold the door for someone too. Facts still matter, it starts with you. Check on your neighbor, share what you can do. One small action turns into a wave. Do something today, be the change that you crave. Facts still matter, it starts with you. Facts still matter, it starts with you.
Thank you, guys. It's always a fine line for me here, and this is an internal struggle that I have sometimes when we get into these conversations, because obviously I don't ever want to be the source of someone's retriggering. I don't ever want to be I don't want people to leave our space and just feel worse than the day started. I know the news is heavy to carry. It's a fine line, right? So it's like it's always on the edge, and I try to monitor my own emotions connected to it, which is why I kind of took a break and just stuck my head outside to get some fresh air. So I'm just believe me, it's not lost on us here about how far and how much we should go into these conversations. But We're here doing it because it's important, and I won't stop doing it. So there you go.
Hi, Steve. Thanks
Good
for
morning.
letting.
Hi.
Hi.
You got
Thanks
it.
for letting me up twice in one day. I really appreciate you.
You got it.
I'm not going to go into any detail about things that have happened to me, but I did just want to kind of share something that did really help me. I was listening to the Chasing Crosby podcast. It's a really good podcast if anyone's interested in it. But they shared a statistic in there. Oh, bad connection. Okay, hold on.
It's really bad. Yep.
Okay, is that better?
It's just really crackling. Are you on?
I'm not. I'm not.
Getting feedback. Swipe up. I'm going to drop you. Request again. Come back. Let's see if that makes it any better. Okay.
Is that better?
That's better. Yes.
Okay, sorry. That was weird because I wasn't even connected to my Bluetooth, so I apologize.
No sweat.
What I was saying is, I'm not going to really share anything that like happened to me, but I wanted to just share something that really helped me. And I was listening to, it's the Chasing Bill Crosby podcast. And they shared a statistic in there that 65% of women who have been abused in some sort of sexual way maintain a relationship with their abuser. And that really, really helped me because I struggled for a really long time with what was wrong with me about the fact that I still had a relationship with this person and I still loved this person. And so when I heard that statistic, a light like clicked in me and I was like, well, of course. That makes so much sense. So I just wanted to share that because maybe it will help somebody else out there to realize that there's nothing wrong with you, even if you maintained a relationship with that person. Because when things happen when you're a child, you may not understand fully what is even happening. And then when you get older and you realize that society is like, oh, this is a bad thing, and you realize, oh, hey, that's a terrible thing. I don't know. I hope that makes sense a little bit.
It does. Everybody's trauma is their own, and how people process things is up to the individual. But I appreciate you sharing your story, Heather.
No, 100%. 100%. I didn't mean it in a way that's like anybody who processes their trauma is wrong. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because it was I wanted to share it just in case it helps someone else because it just made it click in my brain. And also, really quick, Steve, I just wanted to say, I'm going to get emotional. I really appreciate you. I cannot say how much I truly love you, Steve. You are one of the best people I have ever had the pleasure of talking to. I think you are just an amazing person for doing this. I really, 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 really appreciate you, Steve. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you for saying that, friend. I appreciate you very much. Feelings mutual. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
Thank you.
Okay. We're good. We're working through it. Good morning, friend. How are you?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm all right. What's going on?
I'm on my way into work, and I've been listening since you've been on here, and I just wanted to say that this is awesome what you're doing here today, man. I appreciate it. I love how you're giving everybody here a voice to speak and share how they feel. And I didn't really have a whole lot to say. I just wanted to come up and say I appreciate what you're doing here.
Thanks for that, friend. I appreciate that. Your lives are really kicking in. You're doing good work, calling truth to power. So I appreciate you letting me up in your space, and you're welcome here anytime. Thank you for kind words.
Just so you know, we made Hoff crash out and leave, and he cried and went and started his own live a couple days ago. So I figured I'd let you know.
Now you know what. Well, now you know why I don't talk to him.
yeah, it was bad, but I gotta head into work. Keep it up.
Thank you, bro.
I'll be
Appreciate
listening.
You got it. Talk to you later. Okay. Yeah, he's pretty weak. Yeah, he does tribute videos to me when I really trigger him, so that's good to know. Good afternoon. Good day. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, Steve. And you?
I'm okay.
That's good. That's good. It's beautiful, the conversations that you've been having. I was listening in, and I have been sharing a little bit about my story. But I felt I wanted to bring in a perspective that I really haven't heard a lot of people. Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me again.
Sure.
So I've told a couple of times on my own lives that I was in an abusive relationship. I'm not going to go into details about like what happened and all that, but one of the things, I was in that relationship for 6 years, even though I felt I knew for a long time that this relationship was bad. I knew for a very long time that he was doing something to my mental health. Could feel it in the bottom of, like, right in your stomach when you feel that way. But I had a thing, like a situation that made it even harder for me to actually leave it. So when I came into his life, he had a 1-year-old girl. And when you are in a relationship with someone who has such a small child, I loved that kid. I still do. I love her from the bottom of my heart. She was, even though I wasn't her mom, she was the most important person I had ever met. I loved her. I love her still. So when I saw her dad tremble, he got into alcohol abuse, stuff like that. I felt protective of her. I felt that I had a big responsibility to make sure that she was safe when she was with us. I wanted to screen, to make sure that she didn't see situations that were hard. So that was a lot of the reason that I stayed for so long. She was the reason I stayed for so long. And for that, honestly, I'm proud. I am proud because I feel that I helped to not put her in situations that were bad. But I also, in the end, she got older, and I also felt that I showed her what kind of relationship was okay, that it was okay for a man to treat a woman the way that her dad treated me. And I had to leave in the end. I ended up having to go to a woman's shelter and live there for some time. And unfortunately, neither her mom or dad is interested in me seeing her. So she's 7 now. I think about her every day, and I hope that I can see her again at some point in my life. But that was the hardest thing I've ever done, leaving her behind.
You didn't leave her behind, though. I know you know that. I know you know that, but you didn't leave her behind, right? And that's part of it. Like, why? That's part of the cycle. That's the guilt. You didn't do you didn't do any of that. You were the victim in this. You're the survivor in this. You didn't leave her behind.
But I wanted to show that perspective a little bit as well, Steve, because sometimes you stay for that, and I think that's okay. Like, it's okay that is hard. It's okay that you know that you will lose this person after. It's okay, if it makes any sense. Like,
yeah, I get that.
It's okay that it's hard. Like, it's okay that you don't listen to your gut feeling all the time. Like, because sometimes
You're
it's
right.
just more. Like, it's hard. It's freaking hard.
Yeah, and somebody just pointed this out. I was just thinking the same thing. You will have, she'll always have fond memories of you, and you'll have always fond memories of her. So that's what I mean about how you don't need to carry that around with you. And I know you won't, but she'll always have memories of you. And remember, our children, like, there's these dynamics that exist in these relationships, right? I mean, I've had so many stories of people saying that they're, even though they were the victim of abuse, they would never talk bad about their children's parent, and that takes a lot of guts. Yeah, that takes a lot of courage. That means that you're prioritizing the things that should matter the most, because our children see it. How do you respond to this situation? Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to be? Are you going to show them how to be better? And that's what you showed.
That's what made me leave in the end. Like, to be honest, I think the worst that you can show a child is that it's okay to stay, that it's okay not listening to your gut. I saw that a comment was like, you have to listen to your gut. I'm like, yes, I know, but I know that it's hard. I think it's more of that. Like, it's hard to listen to your gut, and it's okay that you find it difficult, because it's love,
It is. It is. And sometimes it's not pretty. Tough love happens as well. So, but thank you for sharing your story with us, and you're always welcome here. I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you for the best chat on TikTok. I can see that.
Appreciate
One of the best.
We can share. We can share, because there is a lot of crossover. I appreciate you saying that, friend. Thanks for jumping in today. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All
Yes,
right,
see you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yes. Just a little bit of news. It does look like, so I was going to get into some Mark Wayne Mullen sound bites, because it's just ridiculous. He did get confirmed out of committee. Didn't expect Rand Paul to support that. John Fetterman crossed and supported him. So that will move now to a full House, full Senate vote. As I mentioned, it's likely he was going to get confirmed. Of course, that's the case, right? So at this point, friends, obviously this conversation could continue all day, and I don't ever want to dismiss anyone. I know a lot of people have had to step away, and that's always been my concern. So if we're going to, we can continue these conversations. I'm fine with that. I want to make sure that we are throwing out the cautionary tale that how do I want to say this? You always have a safe space. As long as we have this space, it will always be a safe space. And your stories are incredibly important. And they are absolutely incredibly important. And if you trust me in our space to be able to share them, I don't ever want to diminish that. I would just ask that we just be mindful of how detailed these conversations will go. I guess I'll leave it at that. Balancing act. How are you today?
I'm good. I just and I'm going back to the assault stuff, so trigger warning on that. But there was something I wanted to bring up that I didn't hear anyone else bring up about it, that applies to me personally. So I was raped when I was 18. I'm 35 now. So it's been almost 18 years. And when I first told my mother, she asked me what I was wearing, which is not a unique experience for the blaming. But what was unique was a few months after I told her, which was a few months after it happened anyway, because I was too scared to tell her at first, for good reason apparently. She revealed one day out of the blue that she had also been raped as a child when she was 13 by her older cousin. And she had never told her parents, had never told anyone. So I think she said she'd told my father at some point before I was born, but yeah. And I remember having so many emotions about that. I was so angry that happened to her. I was so angry that she treated me the way she did when it had happened to her. I felt guilt because it felt like hers was worse than mine or something because she was younger. And there was just so much related to that. And it just shows that when we're silenced out of shame, we take it out on other women too. And that generational pain just continues, So
It's very well said. Yeah, victim blaming, it happens across the spectrum. Thank you, Balancing, for sharing your story with us today. I appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. Don't even know what to say on that. It's super true and very, very sad. Disturbingly sad. All right, let's take a little just a little pause and just kind of go back to a couple things. There's some things that I wanted to kind of cover from yesterday, because not only did the Mark Wayne Mullen stuff is just comical. Obviously, as predicted, he's likely going to get confirmed, which is just so disturbing. But obviously, we can't trust John Fetterman. People know that, so he will be on our radar. I do want to point something out, though, as it relates to Fetterman. The weird part about it, his voting record is pretty much 90+% of the time he tends to vote with Democrats. It's just some of the larger votes, the ones that get the most attention. So this is, again, one of those situations. If he's up against a MAGA Republican and it's John Fetterman, those are going to be those difficult conversations, because we still have to think about the Supreme Court. We still have to think about those kinds of things. This is a weird dynamic. He's shady. He's sneaky. So this is not here. Okay, so it's a good point, AD. So I don't want to. I am not a therapist. I am not a professional in this particular space. I've been told I'm a good listener. That's fine. I'll take that. I just want to make sure that people understand that this conversation should not stop. If you've not been able to find a space to unpack some of your trauma connected to these things, I will always advocate for therapy. So I don't want to turn this conversation away from your voices, because they're incredibly important to me, so that you can also be heard. But we can't. I can't offer you anything other than a space to share your story. So if it's still something you need to discuss today, we're in it. We'll do it. I have no problem discussing it, and more importantly, listening to you. I just want to make sure I threw that out there. So there's that. Okay. All right. Let's see. This is Anika or Annika.
Good morning.
How are you today? Good morning.
I'm all right. I've really appreciated everything that you guys have been talking about, and I wanted to bring up just about the systemic issue with all of this. I grew up in super right-wing conservative, almost culty Christian family, and I was raised to believe that men were always right, and that women were less than, for sure. And also, I was taught that you cannot be essayed in a marriage because your body belonged to your husband. So I had a lot that happened before I was 18, but I got married when I was 21. And having been, I would consider it groomed by this system that I grew up in, I ended up with a psychopath, diagnosed, and I was, essay was a really big part of my marriage. I'm not going to go into detail because I really respect everybody that's in here. But I've done a ton of therapy since then, and I'm still in therapy, and realizing how much the systemic issue is, in the Christian religion. It could be in other religions too. I don't know, because that's not my experience. But I just wanted to bring that side into it, that it goes so much deeper and it's so much more insidious, I think, than a lot of people give it credit for.
I think that's a really good perspective on it. You're right, and I'm about to kind of get into that a little bit more, but you're right, and I appreciate you again. You're sharing your story. This is an epidemic that, like I said earlier, I'll choose to see the glass half full because that's what I do. More light on these kinds of things. Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Right.
Do I expect people to be held? Do I expect people to be held accountable? No, I don't. Sadly, but some will, and it's not justice, but. At least at least it's more obvious, I guess. I'm not even sure what the right words are, but again, thank you for sharing your story. We appreciate you very much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
You got it. Have a good day. Anthony Scaramucci does a podcast on this particular topic, joined by Eliza Day. And I think that this is sort of relevant, and this is probably an appropriate time to play this right now. Because she talks about this particular, what we were literally just discussing. Like, are we at this point? Is this the death rattle? I don't know. Here you go.
We are experiencing the death rattle of a kind of patriarchal toxicity that has corrupted power and corrupted our experience as both men and women. People of all genders are harmed by the kind of power that we now have in place. And so when we see the excesses and when the Epstein files are revealed, when people in power do horrible things to ever increasing degrees of magnitude, the only way I can not lose hope is to believe that it's a kind of parasitic rage. It's the last gasp of this culture before it dies out. I firmly believe there is a reason that we are here when we are here. And so we all have our part to play, I think, in shaping what comes next. So I think within institutions, you're going to see a huge shift of personnel and hopefully a shift in character to go from where we are now, which is a post-shame culture, into a culture that is filled with integrity and respect for people wherever they come from.
It's incredible. We're talking for the first time, but I actually see it the exact same way you do. It's a hopeful way to see things, but I do believe that generally most people are good. And I think that we realize that something is really wrong now and it requires a reset.
One of the things that I talk about in my push to do on the Do Something tour is that what I've noticed is that when good people stop showing up, bad people fill in that space. They talk about the law of thermodynamics, right? Where heat seeks cold. So when you turn on your thermostat, that's kind of what happens. The heat travels around looking for cold spaces. And so when good people stop showing up, bad people are going to be in the room. They're going to fill up that space. So when you talk about leadership vacuums, you talk about, gaps in the structure. If the good folks aren't there, the bad folks will be. We can use this how it applies to elections. When you run unopposed, then you get what you get. So if you stop showing up, somebody else will. Do you want to be responsible? Do you want to be part of the solution? Again, not perfect. Far from it. We've got a lot of work to do, but these conversations are important. But activism at the end of the day is the only way we have a hope. And again, elections and voting is not going to solve everything, but it's something that we can absolutely all do. There's no reasons that we can't. There's no reason you can't. There's none. And I've said this before about the 90 million people roughly that are registered to vote that did not show up in 2024. And I know that those are voting blocks. They're not monoliths, but I look at around half of them. It's the two sides of the same coin, two wings of the same bird crowd. I think that's lazy. I think that is apathetic politics, which has put us in this position. And then there's the rest. Then there's people like all of us who really feel like government doesn't work for them. Now, my approach then is to push and to force people to respond. Some people have just said, listen, I don't feel like my vote matters. I just want to raise my family. I just want to be able to pay my bills. I want my kids to have access to capital. I want them to be able to buy a home. I want the tax system to benefit me. But they're so immobilized by it, paralysis by analysis or whatever you want to call it. They're so immobilized by it that they've chose to literally check out. Those people we need, because there's a lot of us. Because again, they could be politically agnostic. They could be conservatives. They could be Republicans. They could be moderate Democrats. They're not extreme. They're just like the rest of us. They may be apolitical. They may not have voted in years, but we need them. That's part of what the Do Something Tour is about reaching those people to remind them that there's a lot at stake. If you are disgusted by the Epstein class, which we all should be, If you are absolutely disgusted by that, then you have a responsibility to make sure some of the stories that we're hearing today, although they will always happen, maybe they don't happen as much. Again, that's me being glass half full, because there are opportunities here to continue to shine light on this shit. And if we don't, if it's not us, who? And I like what Eliza Day said here. We're all here. We are all on this rock at this particular time in history. There's 342 million Americans, right? What's the number? 250, 260 roughly that are registered to vote. We are all here right now. We all have we have an assignment. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to stand up to it? Are we going to push back against lies and propaganda and deceit and misinformation and corruption? Or are we just going to say, you know, I guess that's what it is? I think you know where I sit, and I think we know collectively where the majority of people in this community sit. We're doing something about it. We're trying. At least we're trying. And you know, every single day there's going to be an opportunity to say, that's fucking bullshit, that sucks, that's horrible. You know, we joke oftentimes because I think humor is therapeutic, at least it is for me, right? But it's serious shit. It's serious. And then when we get more information, you know, when our president is literally just continuing to lie, and then the group around him is protecting him. So we're paying $3.90 in gas because the president of the United States, although promising to lower your gas prices, started a war to distract the American public from his involvement in the Epstein files. The president of the United States is a predator. There's no doubt in my mind. He is a sexual predator. We know that from his civil liability. We know that from the things that he's stated. We know it. We certainly fucking know it. We absolutely know it. It's not. If there's no denying that, and no one who could be objective at all would be able to deny that either. But when the stories continue to trickle out, when the information still comes out, when we're getting more and more contradictions, it makes it difficult for him to run and for the rest of us, or the rest of his enablers and protectors, to run away. Case in point, Dan Goldman's been doing some really, really good work. He uncovered a document that was initially redacted. So I'm going to get into that, and we're going to talk about how the contradictions. One of the things that I have been focused on in covering the Epstein files, and everybody, please continue to like and share the live. Tapping is clapping, liking is loving, sharing is caring. Don't forget about our gifting goal. If you want to support the channel, you can do so at Factsstillmatter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, in support of our Do Something tour. One of the things that I have always been watching is the timelines and the contradictions. Yes, the money side, of course, I've been following those trends. But for me, it's about the numerous contradictions in statements that have been made. And the big one for the president that he has been talking about a lot is this one. Let's see if I have it here. Hang on. This one. This was that famous presser he did last year at his golf course in Scotland, and he was asked about why he threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago.
At the time he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago, can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach to begin?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
Okay, so that's interesting that he said that. And don't forget, the story that he told was that he threw him out because of the relationship ended because of a real estate deal. Pam Bondi said he threw him out because he was a creep. The president doubled down there, said I threw him out because he was stealing employees. Virginia Dufresne, by the way, was a minor. That was the employee that apparently he threw out. Well, because people have been doing the work, the DOJ has initially had redacted a document that contradicts that entire thing. So this is posted by Midas Touch. DOJ redactions hid key details about Trump and Epstein's ties, and Rep. Dan Goldman just revealed what they were trying to hide. In the unredacted document, we can read the full notes from a 2009 conversation involving J.E.'s circle and Trump's attorney. This is what stands out. Trump's own attorney discussed whether Epstein was ever expelled from Mar-a-Lago, raising the issue directly. Trump's attorney admitted, no, he was not a member, may have been a guest, but never asked to leave. The notes reference Trump being on Epstein's plane, contradicting public denials. It confirms Trump had interactions connected to Epstein's world far beyond what he has repeatedly claimed. Trump said, quote, I may have been at Epstein's house with my wife. Let's be clear, these are not rumors. These are contemporaneous notes previously hidden by DOJ redactions. The same document the public saw before had these details blacked out. Now we know what was underneath. So this is a document, all right? So this was sent to JE. The subject matter was Trump, and there was an entire block of the documents that was redacted. So this was, again, the question was asked of the Trump attorney in this case, whose name was Alan Garton. Again, the subject matter was Trump, and the following was discussed. This entire section I'm about to read to you was redacted. And then it became unredacted because, again, it was supposed to be unredacted from the very beginning. Day 90 of the Department of Justice breaking the law. J.E. ever expelled from Mar-a-Lago? That was the question, to which the Trump lawyer responded, no, he was not a member. May have been a guest, never asked to leave. So, what, again, you've heard the sound. You heard the sound from the president himself saying the reason I kicked him out was because he was stealing employees. Well, you couldn't kick him out. He was never a member. He was a guest at best, but never, ever a member. So that, and then we've got the timeline contradicts 2007, 2008, and 2009. The relevance of covering this is more important so that we can put timestamps on history to say we've been exposing this all along. It's not going to change any minds. It's not going to change any views from the people that are protecting them, people who claim to be neutral. It's not going to influence them. It's not going to change the idea. It's not going to change the mind of right-wing creators in this space who are Trump sycophants, who are so deeply indoctrinated into the cult. It's not going to matter. They will find some way to twist themselves into knots defending it. The reason that we cover it is because we made a commitment that we would. Again, truth to power, exposing corruption, the financial connections. So, yeah, there's that. Somebody might have requested looks like, everybody keep tapping, please. Good morning, Katrina. How are you today?
Hi, I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't know I was on. I'm okay. How are you, Steve?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just have a couple of points. I want to remind people about the hand sign when a child is being taken from them, that they put the thumb in and the fingers over the thumb. I think it may be a little thing, but it's a big thing. I wish I would have had it. And then going back to, it'll age me, but good touch, bad touch. How important that is. I try to express to my children to remind their children or to remember these things. And it's with social media, I'm getting yelled at because I'm on social media. Well, I'm not on it. I'm listening. I'm educating myself. And more education that we have, the smarter we will be about the decisions that we make. And I want to thank you, Steve, every day that you struggle to wake up and you put one foot in front of the other and you move and you do something. You've inspired me to do something, and I thank you.
Thank you for saying that, Katrina. I really appreciate that. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you. You take care.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to do that. I have to wrap, guys. This has just hit me a little bit today, and I'm quite a bit distracted. Again, I apologize for having to end early, but I kind of need to just wrap today. Please go raid Ash. I forget her profile. It's Ash's Live or something to that effect. Look, I'm not. I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for being here today. Mods, I love you. Friends, I apologize for having to end early today, but yeah. So we'll see you tomorrow morning, Friday, for Free Speech Friday. Please come back. I'll be here as we all are. But please go say hi to Ash for us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of it for like, I don't know, 50 cents or something like that. But I had to watch the tube videos like 3 times to figure out how to hook it just right. And because I'm a hairdresser, I have the little crochet hooks that you put you pull the hair through on the cap. She loved it. I know little girls do love it. I think it'll be a fun thing to do. I'm going to do a flea market here pretty quick, and I think I'm going to offer to do that because there's a ton of it, and it doesn't take long. Yeah, it is very cool. I'll bring some to Ohio when I come. We'll put some in Ronnie's hair. How's that? I'm 32, but putting in the work as early as now. Peace, I applaud you, because our ill health